India and Europe sign historic free trade deal, mother of all deals. Hello and welcome. Today, we're breaking down one of India's most momentous economic developments in decades, a historic free trade agreement between India and the European Union that many leaders are already calling the mother of all deals. This deal marks the conclusion of nearly 20 years of negotiations and could reshape global trade in the years ahead. What's been announced? On January 27, 2026, at the 16th India EU Summit in New Delhi, India and the EU officially concluded the Free Trade Agreement, or FTA, after nearly 2 decades of talks. The agreement is projected to cover a market of about 2 billion people, representing roughly 25% of global GDP. Leaders have emphasized that this isn't just another trade pact. It's a strategic partnership between two of the world's largest economies. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen were among the key figures present for the announcement. Key trade tariffs. So, what does this deal actually do? 1. Tariff cuts. The EU will eliminate or reduce tariffs on approximately 96.6% of goods it exports to India, potentially doubling EU exports by 2032. India will cut tariffs on about 99.5% of its exports to EU markets over the next 7 years, dramatically expanding market access. 2. Major sectors that benefit. Textiles, leather, marine products, and footwear. Zero duty access to EU markets from day one, boosting jobs and exports. Technology, pharmaceuticals, and precision equipment. Significant duty reductions, improving competitiveness. Services trade, including IT and education, has greater access to EU markets. 3. Cars and luxury imports. Import tariffs on European cars in India, which were as high as 110%, will be phased down to much lower levels over time, benefiting consumers and luxury brands. 4. Sensitive sectors protected. Certain agricultural products, like dairy, cereals, and poultry, are not fully liberalized and remain protected to safeguard India's domestic farmers. Why does deal matter? This is more than just trade liberalization. Here's what makes the deal significant. Massive market access. Together, India and the EU cover almost a quarter of the world's economy, creating new opportunities for exporters, manufacturers, and service sectors on both sides. Growth potential. With easier access to EU markets, Indian industries such as textiles, jewelry, electronics, and IT services could see a major boost, especially after years of dependence on other markets like the US. Healthcare impact. India's pharmaceutical sector sees this as a chance to become one of the global suppliers of affordable medicines, making drugs more competitive in European hospitals and clinics. Strategic ties beyond trade. Beyond economics, this agreement deepens political cooperation, research collaboration, and mobility frameworks, even discussing easier movement for skilled professionals between India and EU countries. Challenges and next steps. The deal isn't fully implemented yet. There are some important steps ahead. 1. Ratification process. The agreement now needs approval by the European Parliament, all EU member states, and the Indian government before it can go into effect. 2. Legal review and implementation timelines. While announced in January, full implementation is expected to take shape over the next year as domestic legal procedures are completed. 3. Critics and concerns. Some critics argue that certain industries could face pressure from greater competition and compliance with complex EU standards, especially in areas such as environmental regulations and trade rules, could be challenging for smaller firms. What experts are saying. Economists and policy analysts have a mixed but largely optimistic view. Supporters say this deal will diversify global trade for India and help European companies gain a foothold in South Asia. Some caution that the full economic impact will take time to manifest and that regulatory frameworks on both sides must adapt to support smaller businesses. Overall, most see this as a strategic win in a world facing rising economic tensions, providing an alternative growth path in a shifting global landscape. What it means for ordinary people. So how could this affect everyday life? Consumers in India might see lower prices on European products like cars, wines, and luxury goods as duties fall. Indian exporters, from garment makers in Gujarat to tech firms in Bengaluru, could find new demand across 27 EU countries. Job growth and services could expand as Indian professionals find broader opportunities abroad. European businesses may also benefit from India's large, young workforce and rapidly expanding market.